Hey guys, today I have a book haul to share with you. So, as I usually do with these book hauls, I have 20 books that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. Some books I have read. I think there's a few books in this pile that I have read. I am super behind on book hauls, okay? A lot of these books that are in this particular book haul are fairly old at this point. That is how far behind I am with book hauls. So let's just get through it and see what I have going on here. First up, The Palace Papers by Tina Brown. You know, quite honestly, I'm not quite sure why I purchased this book. I saw, the British royals on here and I was like, ooh, let me get this. I feel like this is just going to be like sensationalist. I feel like there's not really going to be any sort of substance to this book, but still, I grabbed it. I'm curious what's going to go on in this book. It says Tina Brown takes readers on a tour de force journey through the scandals, love affairs, power plays, and betrayals that have buffeted the monarchy over the last 25 years. So yeah, this book is kind of covering a lot of that, a lot of the gossip and scandal, the rumors, so that's why I said I'm not quite sure why I picked up this book initially, because I almost feel like it's going to be kind of eye-rolling inducing, but we shall see how it goes. Next up, The Lioness by Chris Bajalian. I'm still trying to figure out how to pronounce this guy's name. I love this cover. It's really pretty. So, Tanzania, 1964, when Katie Barstow, A-list actress, and her new husband, David Hill, decide to bring their Hollywood friends to the Serengeti for their honeymoon, they envision giraffes gently eating leaves from the tall acacia trees, great swarms of wildebeest crossing the Mara River, and herds of zebras storming the sandy plains. Their glamorous guests, including Katie's best friend, and there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of names. She's invited some people. She's invited some people with her. They will spend their days taking photos and their evenings drinking chilled gin and tonics back at camp as the local Tanzanian guides heat water for their baths. The wealthy Americans expect civilized adventure, fresh ice from the kerosene-powdered ice makers, dinners of cooked gazelle meat, and plenty of stories to tell over lunch back on Rodeo Drive. What Katie and her glittering entourage do not expect is this: a kidnapping gone wrong. Their guides bleeding out in the dirt, and a team of Russian mercenaries hurrying them into Land Rovers, guns to their heads. As the powerful sun gives way tonight, the gunmen shove them into abandoned huts, and Katie Barstow, Hollywood royalty, prays for a simple thing: to see the sun rise one more time. So yeah, this sounds really cool. It sounds like a bunch of these spoiled Hollywood types, and they all get held at gunpoint by a bunch of Russian mercenaries. It sounds like. So yeah, this sounds pretty exciting and thrilling. Next up, Darling Girl by Liz Michalski, and this is a book that I actually purchased through like one of those boxes that you can buy where it's like a mystery and you get like little goodies that comes with it, because I got this from the Once Upon a Book Club box set. Life is looking up for Holly Darling, granddaughter of Wendy. Yes, that Wendy. She's running a successful skincare company, her son Jack is happy and healthy, and the tragedy of her past is well behind her, until she gets a call that her daughter Eden, who has been in a coma for nearly a decade, has gone missing from the estate where she's been long tucked away. And worst of all, Holly knows who must be responsible: Peter Pan, who is not only very real, but very dangerous. Eden has a rare condition, a secret that Holly is desperate to protect, especially from Eden's half-brother Jack, who knows nothing about his sister or the crucial role she plays in his life. Holly has no one to turn to. Her mother Jane is the only other person in the world who knows that Peter is more than a story, but she refuses to accept that he is not the hero she's always imagined. Desperate, Holly enlists the help of Christopher Cook, a notorious ex-soldier, in the hopes of rescuing Eden before she loses both of her children. So yeah, this book is a sort of kind of retelling of Peter Pan to some degree, but there's definitely some unique twists and turns in here, it sounds like. Next up, I do love me the Walking Dead universe, so there's this little spin-off book here from, the comic books by Robert Kirkman. This is The Walking Dead Typhoon, and this is not written by Robert Kirkman. It is written by Wesley Chu. And let's see what happens in this book. In the aftermath of a horrifying outbreak, the last remnants of the Chinese government have enlisted that 1 billion walkers, which are the zombies, are currently roaming the country. Across this desolate landscape, large groups of survivors have clustered together for safety in settlements that have been built to protect against the unceasing wave of the walkers. In one of these settlements, the Beacon of Light, scavengers of vastly different backgrounds struggle to provide supplies for the survival of thousands. Before this devastation, Zhu was one of the millions of poor farmers who left their rural roots for the promise of consistent employment in China's booming factory towns. Elena was an American teaching English in China while on a gap year before beginning law school. Henjin was a grizzled military officer of some renown and a passionate believer in his nation's ability to surmount any obstacle. But with the settlement's 3,000 mouths to feed and the scavengers having to travel farther and farther to search for food, June ends up at his home village, where he is shocked to find survivors. Will he force them to join the settlement or keep their existence a secret? So yeah, this sounds like this is a book that is taking place in the Walking Dead universe, but in China, which sounds totally great. You guys, I'm totally here for that, because, you know, the Walking Dead books are strictly like in America in the South. That's kind of the total extent of it. So I'm pretty excited to see this world like fleshed out, because that was always kind of my question with The Walking Dead. Was it a global thing? Next up, Star Wars Brotherhood. I do love reading me an occasional Star Wars related book, you guys, and this one especially got me intrigued because it's Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, yes. So yeah, I'm not even going to really read the synopsis back here. I mean, if you've seen the Star Wars movies, you probably know what's kind of going on in this book, because I'm assuming this book is going to be taking place within, you know, the different movies, like between the movies, you know, focusing on their relationship, which I cannot wait for. Next up, The Woman in the Library by Solari Gentile. This book sounds pretty cool. The ornate reading room at the Boston Public Library is quiet until the tranquility is shattered by a woman's terrified screams. Security guards take charge immediately, instructing everyone inside to stay put until the threat is identified and contained. While they wait for the all clear, 4 strangers who happen to sit at the same table pass the time in conversation, and friendships are struck. Each has his or her own reason for being in the reading room that morning. It just happens that one is a murderer. Who did it? Next up, The Lost Summers of Newport, and this is by 3 authors, Beatrice Williams, Lauren Willig, and Karen White. I have read another book previously by these 3 writers that they wrote a book together. They tend to write a lot of books together, and I own all of them. I've only read like one other one, and I really enjoyed that book. I love when the 3 of them team up. I think they all like balance each other out quite perfectly. This book, this is one of those books, since it is 3 different authors, there's like 3 different time frames. There's like one time frame that takes place in 2019, another in 1899, and another one in 1957. So yeah, kind of just, because I really don't feel like reading this whole thing here. Let's see, just up here at the top, it says, this is a novel of money and secrets set among the famous summer mansions of Newport, Rhode Island, spanning over a century from the Gilded Age to the present day. So yeah, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and read this whole thing, because it's pretty lengthy, and it might just end up being confusing since there's like 3 different timelines, but yeah, that's pretty much what it sounds like. It sounds like it starts off like in the Gilded Age, and there's going to be something that's going to connect all of these characters, I'm supposing. That's how it's going to work. Next up, we have this interesting book here with this interesting cover with this lamb. This is a lamb, right? A sheep? Something? Lapvona by Otessa Moshfegh. I'll have to look up a pronunciation guide for that one once I get around to this book. Little Merrick, the abused and delusional son of the village shepherd, never knew his mother. His father told him she died in childbirth. One of Merrick's few consolations is his enduring bond with the blind village midwife, Ina, who suckled him when he was a baby, as she did many of the village's children. Ina's gifts extend beyond childcare. For some people, her ability to receive transmissions of sacred knowledge from the natural world is a godsend. For others, Ina's home in the woods outside the village is a place to fear and to avoid, a godless place. Among the villagers is Father Barnabas, the town priest and lackey for the depraved lord and governor William, whose hilltop manor contains a secret embarrassment of riches. The people's desperate need to believe that there are powers that be who have their best interests at heart is put to a cruel test by William and the priest, especially in this year of record drought and famine. But when fate brings Merrick into the violent proximity of the Lord's family, new and occult forces rise to upset the old order. By year's end, the veil between blindness and sight, life and death, and the natural world and the spirit world proved to be very thin indeed. There's something still really vague and ominous about this book, and I can't wait to get to it, because, I mean, seriously, what's up with this sheep here? I'm very curious. Next up, I love the cover design of this book as well. This is The Maker of Swans by, Carrick O'Donnell. Again, I'll have to look up a pronunciation guide for that one. In the dead of night, shots ring out over the grounds of a sprawling English estate. The world-weary butler Eustace recognizes the gunman, his longtime employer, Mr. Crow, and knows he must think and act quickly. Who is the man lying dead on the lawn? Who is the woman in his company? Can he clean up his master's mess like he always has before, or will this bring a new kind of reckoning? Mr. Crow was once famed for his gifts, unaccountable gifts, known only to the members of a secretive order. Protected and privileged, he was courted by countesses and great men of letters, but he has long since retreated from the glittering world, living alone but for Eustace and Clara, his mysterious young ward. He has been content to live quietly, his great library gathering dust and his once magnificent gardens growing wild. He has left the past behind, until now. Because there are rules even for Mr. Crow and his kind, what does that mean? That cannot be broken. And this single night of passionate violence will have consequences, steering shadows from the past and threatening those in his care. He and the faithful Eustace will be tested as never before. So too will Clara, whose own extraordinary gifts remain hidden even from herself. If she is to save them all, she must learn to use them quickly and unblock the secret of who she is. It is a secret beyond imagining, a secret that will change everything. God damn, what is the secret? This is killing me. Next up, a book that I have actually read and reviewed on my channel, and yeah, I love this book, you guys. Oh my god, I seriously love this book. This is A Brilliant Night of Stars and Ice by Rebecca Connolly. Let me tell you all about it because it was great. Shortly after midnight on April 15th, 1912, the captain of the Carpathia, Arthur Rostron, wakes to a distress signal from the Titanic, which has struck an iceberg on its maiden voyage. Though information is scarce, Rostron leaps into action, determined to answer the call for help, but the Carpathia is more than 4 hours away, and there are more questions than answers. Will his ship hold together if pushed to never-before-tested speeds? What if he also strikes an iceberg? And with the freezing temperatures, will there be any survivors by the time the Carpathia arrives? So yeah, you can't tell. This is a book that is Titanic-focused, but it's actually not really taking place on the Titanic. It's focused on the Carpathia, which was the rescue ship that rescued all of the survivors who were stuck in the lifeboats out at sea. I seriously loved this book. I am a sucker for all things when it comes to Titanic historical fiction, and yeah, this was so wonderful. Next up, another book with a beautiful cover design. It's just so interesting, you guys. I'm not even sure how to describe the cover design on this, but it's pretty wild and insane. I love it. I totally bought this book because of the cover. It was just calling to me. In the state of liberty, water is rationed, free speech comes at a price, and paranoia runs deep. Eleanor, a rebellious young witch, has been put under house arrest with her lecherous co-worker Stan, who loves craft beer, fish tacos, and shooting people. Eleanor has little time for Stan. That's why she's turned him into a talking cat. Besides, she's got a job to do, locate a missing witch who seems to be mysteriously linked to the water shortages affecting the city. But she needs to keep an eye on Stan. He's caught the scent of a treasure hunt and won't hesitate to give up Eleanor to get his paws on the prize. And next up, I have what I believe is book 4 in this particular series, and this is Wicked Beauty by Katie Robert. And these books, guys, my understanding of these books, though I have yet to get to them, is that they're like retellings of Greek mythology, but with like an erotic romance twist to them. They're that type of book. And yeah, this particular book, because I don't think it's really gonna spoil anything from the other books, because these books are kind of meant to be standalones. To my understanding, they focus on a different couple each book. So in this book, in Olympus, you either have the power to rule or you are ruled. Achilles may have been born with nothing, but as a child he vowed he would claw his way into the poisonous city's inner circle. Now that a coveted role has opened to anyone with the strength to claim it, he and his partner Patroclus plan to compete and double their odds of winning. Neither expect infamous beauty Helen to be part of the prize, or the complicated fire that burns the moment she looks their way. Sounds like this book is going to be a love triangle, you guys, between Achilles, Patroclus, and Helen of Troy. Ooh. Next up, I have Not Good for Maidens by Tori Bavolino. And you guys, what really dragged me to this book is that it is a retelling of Christina Rossetti's Goblin Market, and I freaking love Goblin Market, you guys. Oh my God. So I've never seen a book that was like a retelling of Goblin Market, so I was instantly intrigued by that. Beneath the streets of York, the Goblin Market calls to the Wicked Women, the family of witches that tends to its victims. For generations, they have defended the old cobblestone streets with their magic. Knowing the dangers, they never entered the market until Mary Wicket fell for a goblin girl, accepted her invitation, and became inextricably tied to the world her family tried to protect her from. The market learned her name, and even when she and her sister left York for Boston to escape it, the goblins remembered. 18 years later, Lou, Mary's niece, knows nothing of her magical lineage or the twisted streets, sweet fruits, and incredible jewels of the Goblin Market. But just like her aunt, the market calls to her, an echo of a curse that won't release its hold on her family. And when her youngest aunt, Neela, is kidnapped by goblins, Lou discovers just how real and dangerous the market is. Yes, I can't wait to get to this, you guys. Next up, Misrule by Heather Walter. And this is actually book 2 in this duology. And from what I remember of what this duology is about, because I have yet to actually read the duology, I kind of wanted to binge, since it is a duology, I wanted to binge the books together. What I can kind of remember from what the plot synopsis is, this is supposed to be like a queer retelling of Sleeping Beauty, like focusing on Aurora, Sleeping Beauty, and Maleficent, some sort of, sexual tension and attraction going on there. Ooh. Next up, The People's Princess by Flora Harding. This is a book that I have read and reviewed on my channel, and I did really like and enjoy this book. And this book, without really kind of going too much into the plot synopsis, it's a dual narrative. Half of the book is focused on Diana Spencer, the future Princess of Wales who marries, the now King Charles. So yeah, this is focusing on Diana as a young woman, kind of leading up, the days leading up to her impending marriage and her kind of having second thoughts like, should I get married? And it's also the story of another Princess of Wales, Princess Charlotte, who lived like back in like the early 1700s? No, the early 1800s. She lived in the early 1800s, and her life is kind of really, it kind of mimics Princess Diana's in some ways, because Princess Charlotte was a young woman who died fairly tragically as well, because she was meant to be like the next Queen of England at some point, but because of her death, that's how we ended up getting Queen Victoria. So I really liked this book and how Flora Harding connected the stories of these two women, Princess Charlotte and Princess Diana, two women who became princesses of Wales and both had really tragic lives and tragic deaths. So I liked how that story kind of weaved in their stories. I really liked it. Next up, I have a book here by Alison Weir. I love all things Alison Weir. I love I love both her historical fiction and her nonfiction. And this is historical fiction. This is Elizabeth of York, The Last White Rose. Yes. And I'm guessing this is taking place like during the War of the Roses, and then like, after the War of the Roses when she marries King Henry VII and, produces the future Henry VIII, I love the story of Princess Elizabeth of York, you guys. She lived a crazy life during the War of the Roses. Her father dies, and then we get her uncle Richard III becoming king, and then she's kind of pawned off to Henry VII. It's all crazy. I love her story. It's so fascinating, so compelling, so interesting. Next up, A Light Beyond the Trenches by Alan Halad, and I love this book. There's a German Shepherd down there. Of course, I had to get this book. Is there a plot synopsis? Where is the plot synopsis? By April 1916, the fervor that accompanied war's outbreak has faded. In its place is a grim reality. Throughout Germany, essentials are rationed. Hope, too, is in short supply. Anna Zeller, whose fiancé Bruno is fighting on the Western Front, works as a nurse at an overcrowded hospital in Oldensburg, trying to comfort men broken in body and spirit. But during a visit from Dr. Stalling, the director of the Red Cross Ambulance Dogs Association, she witnesses a rare spark of optimism. As a German Shepherd guides a battle-blinded soldier over a garden path, Dr. Stalling is inspired with an idea to train dogs as companions for sightless veterans. Oh my god, you guys. I love the idea of this book. It just sounds like it's really going to be wholesome and cute, about this dog who's going to save, these soldiers who have come back from battle and have PTSD and are probably missing limbs and stuff, and they can't see. This should be pretty great. Next up, Beyond the Wire by James D. Shipman. Let's see, October 1944, World War II, you guys. In the long, narrow undressing rooms in Auschwitz-Birkenau, prisoner Jacob Bach toils under the scrutiny of SS guards. Like other members of the Soderkommando, Jacob was selected on arrival for an unthinkable job, sorting through the clothes of the dead and moving their bodies from the gas chambers to the crematoriums. Oh no. In this hell within a hell, Jacob clings to the promise he made to his murdered father to live at any cost, and to the moments he is able to spend in the company of Anna, imprisoned in the women's camp. Every morning, Anna marches miles to the Union Munitions Factory, where she works alongside other prisoners. Even Jacob doesn't know that she and a few other women have been taking the ultimate risk, smuggling trace amounts of gunpowder back in their clothing. A bold plan is brewing to revolt against the SS and liberate the camp. Jacob, pressured to join the resistance, knows that any uprising faces impossible odds. Added to this already stark choice is another desperate reality: the risk from informers who see their only chance of survival in betraying their fellow prisoners. So yes, sounds pretty harrowing. This is making me think of the Tattooist of Auschwitz. There's like some similarities within this plot, I feel like, but I'm still looking forward to this. Next up, The Red Palace by June Her. 1758. There are few options available to illegitimate daughters in the capital city, but through hard work and study, 17-year-old Hyeon has earned a position as a palace nurse. All she wants is to keep her head down, do a good job, and perhaps finally win her estranged father's approval. But Hyeon is suddenly thrust into a dark and dangerous world of court politics when someone murders 4 women in a single night, and the prime suspect is Hyeon's closest friend and mentor. Determined to prove her beloved teacher's innocence, Hyeon launches her own secret investigation. In her hunt for the truth, she encounters Yojin, a young police inspector, also searching for the killer. When evidence begins to point to the crown prince himself as the murderer, Hyeon and Yojin must work together to search the darkest corners of the palace to uncover the deadly secrets behind the bloodshed. Ooh, this sounds super good, yeah, guys. And again, because there's is this China, Japan? I'm trying to think if this is China or Japan. I'm not sure if this is China or Japan, but I'll definitely look up a better pronunciation guide once I get to the once I get to this book. And the last book that I'm going to be sharing with you guys is Rivals by Catherine McGee, and this is book 3 in the American Royals trilogy. And again, this is one of those book series that I have all of the books currently, but I have yet to actually read them all. I'm kind of just going to binge them all in one go once I get to them. So yeah, I'm not even going to read the plot synopsis for this book at all because I don't want to spoil anything since it is the 3rd book in the series. But yeah, what I remember from like what the first book is about, it's supposed to be like it's like modern day America, but it's like, well, what if America, how the American Revolutionary War kind of went about, if we instead of having presidents, if we ended up having like our own version of a monarchy in America, I suppose. So yeah, I can't wait to get to this series because it sounds really cool. So you guys, that is it for this book haul. In the comments below, have you guys read any of these books? Are there any of these books that I should get to sooner rather than later? Just let me know. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.